Spring had arrived, and all along the edges of Grandmama's house, tiny white, blue, and purple crocus were peeking their heads through the soil of her flower beds. The air was fresh and new, and robins hopped about the yard picking worms out of the ground. The recent winter had been harsh, and the wood supply in Grandmama's basement was very low. Grandpa decided to refill the basement with fresh wood, which he gathered from the back of their property. The seasoned split pieces, after sitting a year in the weather, were ready for future burning.
"Boys, you mind giving me a hand unloading the truck?"
Grandpa said as he pulled armloads of wood out of the back of his white pickup. Michael and Jasper moved toward the truck, leaving their sister on the steps of the house. Within minutes, Jasper shrieked,
"Michael, leave me alone. I'm a-working here."
Michael had been watching Jasper as he lifted firewood off the truck and brought the wood into Grandmama's house through the front steps, ignoring the outside basement door completely.
"You're going to get wood dust all over Grandmama's floor," Michael said. "You never listen, Jas. Never." "Michael, why are you picking on your brother?" Grandpa said in a very stern and yet endearing voice. "You boys have been at it since this morning. Now, what's this all about?"
Michael and Jasper looked at each other, and neither could speak. Then Jasper punched Michael square in the gut. Mary was combing her doll's thick black hair and looking down. Her short-cut hair was nearly as black as the doll's. Every once in a while she would watch as the two boys continued to fight.
"Grandmama, they're at it again," she said.
Jules, half listening to her tiny granddaughter, was busily working unpinning her laundry to the clothesline that extended out some 50 yards.
"What are you talking about? Who's at it again?"
she answered, preoccupied with her laundry.
"My brothers. Who else would it be?"
Just then Grandmama pulled herself from her work and dropped her last white sheet into the laundry basket. Then she heard their shrill voices through the open window of her front porch. Frustrated at the boys fighting, she said under her breath,
"I swear those boys are going to kill themselves one day."
Bending her head out the laundry window, she yelled,
"You boys stop it right now or else! Oh, and by the way, you don't want to know what or else will be, just in case you feel like pushing me."
As she shouted, high in a swamp maple, a lofty flock of crows took to the sky as if fearing for their lives. Grandpa just looked at his two grandsons from below the rim of his baseball cap and said,
"Now you've done it."
It was getting on to dinner time, and Grandmama had finished adding some celery to her stew, which was bubbling on the countertop stove. Grandpa was setting the plates, and Mary was off in another room playing with her dolls. Jasper sat in the corner chair of the kitchen. His small legs were barely able to touch the floor. His head was resting on his right arm. Michael walked about the kitchen, ignoring Jasper's every nasty look.
"Smells good, Grandmama. What is it?" asked Michael. "It's beef stew, Michael, a very old recipe passed to me from my mother. Now go sit down and be nice to your brother."
Michael, feeling he was being forced to do something he really did not want to do, ignored his grandmother's request and headed for the living room. When he entered the wood-paneled room, he saw that Mary was fast off into her own world playing schoolteacher with her dolls.
"Now, is everyone here today?"
she asked the dolls.
"Then we can begin. What is this object here?"
Michael watched as she held up a small apple in front of the class.
"Yes, you in the back,"
she said as she pointed to a stuffed soldier doll.
"It's an apple,"
she pretended to say as if the soldier himself was real and in the classroom.
"That's right. And what do we do with this apple?"
She then pointed to a tiny doll on the sofa.
"We eat it,"
she faked the doll's words.
"That's right, class, we eat it."
And with that, Mary took a huge bite of the green apple and chewed away. Michael watched in amazement at the whole ordeal and could not help but laugh under his breath.